what were the main points of your today's presentation here at DIGGIT?
I think one of the main errors that a lot of organizations have done in their journey into social media has actually been that they are thinking about social media as a push marketing tool. So much like the rush to the internet back in the zeros, everybody just got a website quickly but didn't really know what to do with it once they had it. So I think it's very important that you think about social media as communication and not marketing, simply because of the nature of the social media. It's a lot about dialogue, it's about engaging and responding with your audience and together develop content and conversation.
So what are the most common mistakes that people do when treating social media?
I think what very often happens is, so let's say an organization has built up, for instance, a fan base on Facebook with, let's say, 50,000 users. It becomes very tempting to all of a sudden start to push glossy marketing campaigns and products and services, which is very often a complete turn-off for the users, because that's not why they initially wanted to engage with the brand. They wanted to be there because the brand had a relevance and an authenticity that they were engaged with, and they're not necessarily there to buy the product.
So, in your opinion, who should be the leader in educating the marketing people how to treat social media properly?
I think social media has its natural home in communication. And I think if social media sits in communication together with, let's say, public affairs, media relations, internal communication, that's typically the team that drives the core narrative of the company. And I think that's very important. But I would say it's very important that social media gets embedded into the business. So what I would actually recommend is that you have a small central team with specialists sitting, for instance, in customer service, in sales, in CSR, that then can help drive the relevant platforms.
Do you have any examples of good practices among companies, maybe even in Slovenia?
I don't know, unfortunately I don't know that much about the Slovenian market, but for instance when it comes to the whole intelligence piece, I know that for instance Dell is doing fantastic work in terms of all the time staying tuned into the channels of what the sentiment is and what customers are saying. I would also say that GE are doing some fantastic things in terms of storytelling. And then I would also recommend my old company Maersk, which I think was a great example of, let's say, making a less interesting product, containers, interesting in a B2B space.
So how to make a not so interesting at first sight product appealing on a social media?
I think the key, at least in Maersk, and I think we also heard from Pirelli today, I think the most important thing is that you find out what your core narrative is. So the whole thing starts of understanding your brand and where is it that you are different, and that should be, let's say, the whole boilerplate for what your core messages are, and that is what you should be bridging back to all the time. That said, I would also say it's very important in social media that you are explorative and that you all the time stay in close dialogue with your audience there, and then through the conversation with them, make sure that what you are telling is on their terms.